Beth Hiley here for Board Game Geek at Gen Con 50. I'm sitting down with Brian Morongi, and you brought us your game, published by AEG, which is Cutthroat Kingdoms.
Yeah.
So give us a quick theme statement. What are we trying to accomplish here in Cutthroat Kingdoms?
So effectively what I like to tell people is it's like being on an episode of the show Game of Thrones. It is all about medieval intrigue and betrayal. I argue that a lot of diplomacy is required to win the game effectively. You need to pick your partners and allies correctly. It's an area control game. As you can see, the kingdom in the circle here, you're fighting for these territories and you're accruing wealth, gems. There's a set collection element to the gems, which kind of gets exponentially more valuable. And you play as one of the unique lords or ladies of the kingdom.
Which I'm guessing with our family crest
and
here.
And the family crest, of course. And it's even got their picture on the other side, in case you forget who you are.
Which happens more often than we care to admit.
It does. It really, identity crisis. Exactly. But yeah, so the game is very much a negotiation, table talk, friendly game. I think that's the most important part. You can freely and openly negotiate at any time during the game. Anything is for grabs. You can negotiate for anything, a favor, coins, gems, cards.
Now, are those promises binding?
That is a great question. So in the rules, if you both formally do a handshake or a yes, that is binding.
Elbow shake.
Elbow shake, totally. For the rest of the game, that is binding. Except there are conspirators in the hireling deck. You could hire a conspirator to sever an agreement that you may have made. Yes. And this is where the diplomacy kicks in, where you might do that, and it might benefit you in the short term. But then the rest of the table knows that you're not a man of your word or a woman of your word. And so it's really, it's a balance. It's a balancing act. But the unique part about the game is halfway through the game, there is a royal wedding where you can actually marry off. Every house has a royal heirs. And you can actually marry off your children to another player.
So we have Maven and Maddox
Maven and Maddox could get married to Githa and Peyton here. Although Githa's a little young for marriage. So I think Peyton's the more eligible bachelor here. But yeah, and once you're married, once your houses are wed and joined, you play the game together as a team.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and so it doesn't start off... starts off, you're not really sure who you want to ally with. You kind of need to, you have to ask permission to pass through land, so maybe your neighbors start to become an eligible marriage partner later. And then halfway through the game, you can actually seal the deal, and you share victory in that case. There is one card, though, in the hireling deck called the Royal Pillow, where you can actually smother your partner's kids. And forcefully end the marriage that way. So it's funny because you always I'm very reluctant going into a marriage proposal because I'm like, do you have the pillow? And they'll say no, of course not.
No,
of course not. I don't have the pillow. I've only been pillowed once, for the record, and it was by John Zinser, the owner of AEG. So
that seems ironically appropriate.
I feel like it does. Yeah, so you have that, and then at the very end of the game, there's a feast, and it's a mini game, and you throughout the game, you've been accruing feast cards, and it's another way where you can either pass as a friendly gesture food to someone, or you could taint the food and kill heirs that way to end a marriage, a red wedding, so to speak.
Now, what might not be super noticeable on camera here is that this is not a game board.
This is not a board.
A mat.
That is absolutely.
Now, is that standard if someone went to go buy this game right now, that they would get a mat instead of a game board? Was there an inspiration for wanting to do that over a game board? I mean, because when you put this out, I was like, ooh, that sounds, it moves.
It does. Yeah, no, the idea behind this was it doesn't stain, and it's water resistant. And when I play at home, I actually have medieval goblets for everybody at the table.
Cool.
And so the idea is that we
Exuberant.
didn't want, we wanted something that didn't stain, that was water resistant.
Or at least this is supposed to be that color.
Or this is exactly, and you don't know whether this is wine or blood, or both.
Thematically appropriate, yes.
Yeah, and
Now-
it's just a cool textural.
Yeah, well, and
of.
it's unique too.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
I love being able to sit down with the designer themselves because this is my favorite question to ask. I mean, you've stared at this, you've probably blood, sweat, and teared over this.
A lot, yeah.
Is there? I was gonna say, there's usually, and most designers are like, I know exactly what it is. Favorite card, or favorite little mechanic that you puzzled out.
Yeah.
Or or as you said, like when you had the pillow with the owner of
Oh,
AEG.
totally. Yeah.
What would be that moment for you?
That's a good question. Honestly, it's one of the simple mechanics. The mechanic where if you are on a territory and your neighbor might be, maybe I'm here and I need to get over there, I actually verbally have to ask any intervening player permission to pass through their lands. And that one mechanic blossoms the game into a wonderful dialogue of dealing and, okay, sure, but it'll cost you a couple coins or a favor. So that's one of them. And then I do have another. A lot of this game, once you get into the nitty gritty, you can kind of combo into things. And so my biggest and most favorite combo is I'll use a sneak hireling. If someone's played a watchman on one of their territories, I will sneak into that territory using a hireling, and all of their cards are gone, and I get control of the territory, but the watchman stays and fights for me. So I not only get the territory, but I also get the protection of the watchman. So that is kind of a slick, now you know the pro tip.
Brian's signature move right
That is
there.
my signature move. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's finish up with a few mechanics. How many
Sure.
players? How long?
So 3 to 6 players. The game is fairly long. It's a 90-minute to about 160-minute game. Honestly, it could be very short if you don't negotiate. The only reason it's a fairly long game is the negotiations tend to take, you can really get involved. In fact, I've even had people write out contracts physically on paper, right, for the game. So that can take a while.
Anyone like prick their finger and write it out in
Oh,
blood or anything?
not yet. But I'd like to. If you do that, please send it in. Absolutely.
But be careful.
Yeah. But it's area control. It's hand building. You're building a hand of cards. A little bit of set collection, and negotiation, and then partnerships.
There we go. If you guys
So-
want to try that for yourselves, that is Cutthroat Kingdoms,
You got
excuse
it.
me, which is Brian Merlongi's game, and
Thank you.
published by AEG. And Brian, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.